Hey there, greetings everybody. Good evening and welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this channel. So we're going to do an episode of favorites tonight. This is Wednesday night. I do this every Wednesday night. And this one is going to be about 10 Southern rock bands I have been, I guess exploring would be a good term to use. These are bands some of these bands I've had, years of listening to, but generally speaking, I haven't really explored any of their discographies or much about the bands, to be honest with you. I apologize. I've been home all day with a knee and shoulder issue. So probably got a little bit of a cold going on too. Anyways, so I've listed 10 bands that I to varying degrees have been kind of looking around and listening to some of their stuff and reading about them and that kind of stuff, to getting myself more familiar with the bands. So it's an exploration for me. This kind of started probably kind of in the midsummer. I had listened to some Southern bands before, but it was always very sporadic. But it's only been probably since sometime early in the summer that I started making a conscious effort to seek out some of these bands. So I'm going to give you the bands that I've chosen for the 10. There's others I could have chosen, but I'm just going to stick with the 10 that I got here today. So the first one is the 38 Special. This is a band that I've been interested in for some time. I almost bought one yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, it might have been yesterday night, or it might have been Monday night. I can't remember. I went and I got some albums for a new album release this week, and I had the 38 Special one in my hand, and then decided to go with another album from another band. So I only wanted to get 4 albums that day, and there was a couple of albums there that I took immediately as soon as I saw them. And then I was fumbling around with about 3 or 4 others, and the 38 Special one was one of them. And I decided to pass on it for this week, only because the 2 albums that I chose, I wanted more. So, of course, 38 Special. So my knowledge, so basically what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to give you the 10 bands and just talk about my kind of general knowledge of these bands, which is probably limited in some cases. So if I seem not to know too much about that particular band, it's because I'm in the middle of exploring them. So the 38 Special is a band that I've been interested in, mostly because one of the Van Zandt brothers was the main singer for this, Donnie Van Zandt, along with, I think it's Dan Barnes or Don Barnes. I think it's Dan Barnes, also doing vocals. So this band came out, to my knowledge, probably maybe towards the end of the 70s, if I'm correct. And they've been producing albums since then. I think they had a one period of time where they weren't producing anything as they went solo. I think that's what happened, and they got to get back together. So I've been listening to a little bit of their stuff, which I like quite a bit. So that's the first band, 38 Special. Allman Brothers, this is a band that I've always kind of passed on, basically because I know that they have a huge jam band influence in their music, and I've never been a huge fan of jam bands. They do have some stuff that I have listened to and I've heard, and I know who the main guys are in it, or at least some of them anyways, not all of them. But they're a band that I told myself within the next year or so I would start to kind of explore their discography a bit, because they are among the very biggest of the Southern rock bands, and I want to give them a full chance to be a band that I might want to listen to. And so my knowledge of them is very limited, and the main part of my knowledge is that they're a jam band, and that has kind of set them back for me. So I will try to keep an open mind and go forward, because sometimes these bands aren't what you think they are completely until you actually go and listen to them. The next band was a band that I'd long had a long time of being interested in. I would look at their stuff at the record store quite frequently, and often think, I might go for this, but then I'd always get something else. So I never really kind of pursued them beyond the pick up and look at stage. And that's the Atlantum Rhythm section. I think these guys, my knowledge of them is probably a little bit limited here, but I get the impression that they started out as a kind of a group of session musicians playing for other bands, and that they kind of formed their own band. I don't know if I'm right about that or wrong about it, but that's the feeling I get. Next band up, of course, is this one, CCR. I now have 3 or 4 of their albums. This is a band I've long liked, but never really owned anything other than the Chronicles, because they had all of their hits, and I thought that's as far as I'll ever go with them. But then for some reason, I just all of a sudden got this huge interest in their music, so I started buying their albums. And I've got like 3 or maybe 4 of them now. This was the first one I bought, Green River here. This is a 40th anniversary edition. So this is, for those of you who are like me, who don't know much about this band, this is the John and Tom Fogerty brothers and a couple of other guys who I'm not familiar with as much as I should be, but I am not. Nice shot of them all here. So basically, John Fogerty is the main guy here. And they have a lot of well-known tracks, some of them on this particular album too. Things like, where are we here? Bad Moon Rising. Yeah, there's another one on here and I don't see it. Can't remember what it was. Anyways, so they've got some other stuff like on my what's it called? I can't even think of the name of it now. Anyways, it's a collection of their stuff. They have a lot of stuff that I kind of think of them. I guess the best way to describe my initial impression of them was they are the war band from Vietnam. That's the way I thought of them. And so I kind of didn't really pursue them, although a lot of their stuff got played in a lot of these war movies. And so I started to kind of wanting to follow them a little bit more. So I've got 3 of them. I've been listening to them all, and I'm going to continue to grow in them. And they may be one of the most well-known of the Southern rock bands for you. So you can see that my knowledge of Southern rock is kind of limited, but it's moving up. Next one up is this band, Dixie Dregs. I happened to be in the store one day. I had some extra money on me, and this was an album I pulled off the shelf and said, you know what, I'm going to get one because they're always talking about this on other channels. Not this particular album, but this band, which is basically an instrumental band. So that was part of the reason why I never really pursued them. But this stuff is really strong, really quite good. The instrumentation is very strong, and that's my knowledge of this band is just this, that they're an instrumental band and this particular album. So it's very limited, like I said, but I still kind of like them a bit. Next up is the Georgia Satellites. This is a band that I know very little about, except for they have the big hit, Keep Your Hands to Yourself, which is a well-known track, and I'm familiar with it myself. But they are a Southern rock band, and I'm going to look more along the line. So as I did maybe 2 or 3 years ago with the psychedelic music, I'm still now starting to do the same thing with the Southern rock. So it starts out with very limited knowledge and moves further along as we go. Next is an album I've had for some time, and listened to it once or twice. It didn't register with me too well initially. It was a little better the second time, but of course I've known about this artist for a very long time, Johnny Winter, and of course his brother Edgar Winter. I could have done either one or the other, but I had his album, so I thought I would go with it today. And so this is another guy that I will be checking out a little bit too. Next up, of course, is probably the most well-known Southern rock band, and the one that I am most familiar with is Leonard Skinner. As you can see, this is the album I had for many years. I've had this disc for probably 30, 35 years now. It's just basically a greatest hits. It's got a lot of their well-known tracks and radio-friendly tracks, Sweet Home Alabama, I Ain't the One, Give Me 3 Steps, Free Bird, of course, is on here. Saturday Night Special, That Smell. Yeah, so all these tracks, which are fairly well-known tracks, are on this album. And I like this a lot. This is a very good greatest hits. I never thought I would go beyond it because I thought, yeah, I'm okay with just having this. But then I started wanting to explore them a little bit. Now I have a second one, which is their debut album, which is absolutely fantastic. I didn't realize how good they were until I started listening to that album. I always knew they were good because I like a lot of the stuff on here, but that album is fantastic. And so we'll be moving much further along. For people who don't know, I know a little bit more about Leonard Skinner. This is Ronnie Van Sant on vocals, Rosington and Collins, and Artemis Pyle, and Ed King. There's a few other members of the band that don't readily come to mind to me. But and of course, the big thing that kind of drew me to them initially was that of the big plane crash, which claimed the lives of Ronnie Van Sant and Gaines, and I think his sister was also died during that. So the Gaines brother and sister duo, she was, I think, backing vocals with the band. And so a lot of the other guys were injured, like 5 or 6 of the other guys were injured, but the band eventually came back, and his younger brother, Johnny Van Sant, took over lead vocals. And the band, initially the band didn't go back together. They formed the Rosington Collins Band, which is another band I'll be talking about very shortly. I thought I marked them down. I guess I didn't. Oh yeah, I did it right at the bottom there. I see them. So that's my extended knowledge of Leonard Skinner, which is a band who is in the top 30 for me of my bands, based solely on this greatest hits album. That's how much I like this. But now I think they will do much better because of my move towards it. And I've been listening in the last months too to their discography. I'm up to like their 5th album or 4th album now, the one prior to the last album that they made with Ronnie. And yeah, so that's my knowledge of Leonard Skinner. Next band up started here in my high school days. This is my yearbook. And this picture, one of the guys I was friends with in one of my classes, we collect comics together, and I gave him one, and he drew this in the back of my yearbook. This is Francetta, which, for those of you who know where I'm going with this, is the cover of the second album of Molly Hatchet. So all Molly Hatchet's artwork is done by Francetta. I did not know that at the time, but that's where my first intake of Molly Hatchet came from, was from this album cover that I have at the back of my yearbook, this artistic drawing. This is my yearbook here. So anyways, and I've looked at a lot of the album covers for them over the years, but I've never actually bought an album from them. And the record store I'm at now, I have been looking for albums from them for the past probably year. They're on the list of bands that I'm looking for, but I never seen any, like they haven't had any in for a while. So definitely a band I want to listen to more. I've listened to some of their stuff on the computer, of course, but I'm currently going through the Leonard Skinner discography, so they're going to have to wait their turn, but eventually they will get one. And then the last band on the list tonight is Rosington Collins Band, which is basically the survivors of Leonard Skinner. Coming out after, I think they came out in the 80s, if I'm correct. So the accident took place in 77, October of 77, and I think they came out in with their albums in the early 80s. If I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody's going to correct me. But those are my 10 bands that I'm exploring from the Southern rock genre. So 10 Southern rock bands I am exploring, which I will give you in case you like to keep track of these things. 38 Special, the Allman Brothers, Atlanta Rhythm Section, CCR, Dixie Dregs, Georgia Satellites, Johnny Winter, Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, and the Rosington Collins Band. And there's a bunch of others that I have a kind of a periphery interest in, but I'm going to concentrate on these ones for now and see where I go with this. And I'm sure that at least 2 or 3 of these bands are going to become major players for me. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this kind of one-off type episode. And we'll see you all next week. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. You want to make any comments about any of the stuff I've said about any of the bands or any suggestions, you can do that in the comment section below. And I look forward to seeing you all next week here on Favorites on the Prog Monster. So take care. Have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.